Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. We are so punctual that Pat actually pressed go live
so on
10
the ball.
seconds before 5 by my clock. Hi, Strike. How are you,
I have a Strike
Pat?
back. And Strike, here's a lesson for cat owners and all pet owners. If your cat is not very affectionate, send them away for like 7 or 8 days and they come back friendlier. They're like, oh, look, it's your place is not so bad, Pat.
She's never going to see you again. That's good.
So Strike is back and she's extra affectionate and whatnot. And
that's very sweet. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Has she peed or pooed on you yet?
No, and she's back. She's doing great.
Look at that.
She's got little tricks bouncing that on her head. All right.
I love
Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of the cat.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, of course.
On to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. We God, there's just there's so much news, so much going on, and I feel like we never get to delve as deeply into all the different topics, and then we have to skip some topics. And so when I start, I'm always like, oh my God, but we don't even have enough on. But there's just so much going on. How are you doing? Before we get to like serious
I'm doing well. I'm glad you are back in a good place. And yeah, I know you get sort of
stressed out,
overwhelmed with like we need more information. And if you guys saw the amount of stuff we don't show, like she writes a thesis every week. And it's amazing, but we just never get to it all.
Listen, if less is more, just think about how much more is.
More is more.
Is even more than less.
The morest.
The morest. Yeah. It's I just always feel like we're doing disservice to, we keep talking about, and we're in the process of trying to schedule a climate scientist, LA scientist, because there's so much to talk about and we never cover it. And it feels sort of like disrespectful to the enormity of it to just do, one or two little mentions. But then what ends up happening is we've sort of ignored it for such a long time. And the climate is not, as Nina Turner says about politics, if we don't do climate's still doing us.
Amen. And she also says both parties are two cheeks of the same ass. That's my favorite Nina
Amen.
quote.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so hard because look, what do you gonna ignore the pandemic this week? Sure. We've done that a little bit lately. It's a pandemic that should be on front page news every day. The genocide, you can ignore the genocide. So the least important thing probably is the rat race, but it's like, it's the time when all our friends and neighbors and normie Joes are tuned into politics. So it's really important to stay up on that so that we can leverage our message of socialism or communism or left politics,
like capitalism, all of it. And I mean, as we all know, it's all intersectional, so it does all matter, and it all is part and parcel of the same sort of cancerous capitalism. But there's a lot to dig into. First, we would love, as always, to
pause.
What if you don't even have space because I added too many different things, which might be
it's on the way.
Okay, good.
There we go.
Our members, thank you so much. Cheers to all of you guys, our pup heroes and sheroes. We are so grateful. And if you are looking for your name where it should go sort of sequentially.
It's not really sequential.
Not alphabetically, right. But like for a while we were doing it as it came in. And now, because I think we're trying to put everything on one page, your name might not be in chronological order of when you actually joined, but it's there. So thank you. We really, really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Should we start with our cheers?
Yeah, let's do some positive.
Yeah, I mean, like almost everything, our cheers, it is positive because people are speaking out about an enormous negative as Israel and the U.S. expand their wars to more countries. This is from a protest in the Bay Area yesterday.
The Zionist entity attempts to scare us by telling us that Beirut will be the next Gaza. But we say to them, Beirut has always been Gaza. Lebanon has always been Palestine. And your threats will not deter us from standing with our people. We are here to say loud and clear that any aggression on Lebanon must be opposed. We say hands off Lebanon, hands off Gaza, and no more U.S. aid to Israel's brutality.
Cheers to them. We are all Gaza and Lebanon and Marcellus Williams and every single injustice. I mean, you know, I know we'll talk about it a little bit, but boy, they're just doing everything out in the open. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter that the state is just executed an innocent man. It doesn't matter that a genocide's happening. It doesn't matter that the same rhetoric Netanyahu used about Palestinians in Gaza, he's now using about civilians in Lebanon. I mean, it's just so the people who come out here and continue the protest, cheers to them. We need all of you. Cheers. And
yeah, and clearly, you know, voting is the first step. Voting doesn't do it. I'm not saying don't vote, but signing petitions is the next step. That doesn't do it. They don't care. Marcellus got put to death despite, you know, the prosecutors themselves saying it's not justice.
Yeah.
Palestine, the whole world's against it, you know, so we're out protesting, and protesting is something, and powerful speeches rile up an audience. But what we do with that needs to be something other than voting or signing a petition, or we need to disrupt and stop traffic and stop capitalism, like actually stop money from being made.
Yeah, that is the only way. And it truly is, you know, it was so nice to have Joe Kishore and Jerry White on, and their, you know, deep, vast historical knowledge of capitalism and worker movements, which I know can sometimes maybe feel sort of theoretical, and yet it's the only way that anything has ever changed. Nobody changes anything by voting. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just true. And maybe eventually the votes catch up with it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't happen in sort of like, you know, civility policed type of way. There's always bloodshed, and it's always the working class.
And it's going to take more now than it used to, because it used to be you could raise awareness to a point where the party was under pressure to respond to the will of the voters on some stuff. But they're so captured now. I mean, the public doesn't want this war. They don't want the Ukraine war. I'm marginal on that, but they want policy abroad that helps us. And when they see our U.S. tax dollars going to, sorry, MMT folks, but when they see our focus, our country's focus on war and all the money going to bombs that alternatively could go to healthcare, childcare, vaccine program, air treatment quality program,
cleaning the air. I mean, we
simple
have
stuff.
Parts of our country. And oh, by the way, haven't even told you, but we are very excited that Jordan Sheridan is coming on in a couple of weeks to talk about his book, which details the crisis, the disgusting corruption in Flint, Michigan, and how it was bipartisan. And it's interesting because the attorney general who refused to prosecute, I mean, he'll tell us all this, but who refused to prosecute the governor, right, who changed the water supply that poisoned Flint, is actually the Democratic, no, is it the AG? Sorry, the AG, attorney general, who refused to prosecute, is this Nessel woman who just lied about Rashida Tlaib and said that the reason that Rashida Tlaib accused her of being, anti-Palestine because she's Jewish, which was never said. That's the whole thing that Jake Tapper.
Right. That's her. I didn't know that was her.
That's the same attorney general. Yeah. So he has a lot to say. So we're very excited to have him on in a couple Sundays for our shit show. Awesome. But she's disgraceful. And yes, Jordan is kicking ass. And
he is. And the thing I appreciate about him most, I mean, obviously for staying on these issues, but on the ground reporting is something that's, you got 1 million people doing podcasts like us, but he's actually taking it to the next level, and they're getting out there and covering this stuff real time. And it's super important.
It is, because corporate media hasn't even been to Michigan in how many years? Since Obama took his sip of the clean water. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the last time we saw them down there. All right, should we get to it? What do you think?
Yeah, let's kick the show off and then we'll spin the wheel or something, get us going.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Do that. Right.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
I didn't know I was going to have this.
Pat, look at you, surprising me with an executive decision there.
Yeah, you didn't know I was going to add that little thing because we're always like, what day is it? Is it Sunday? Is it Wednesday?
That was actually really good.
Came
I don't know
across
who
that.
Were
Were
we
those
told-
frogs? What were those things? I don't
Yeah,
even
I think
know.
so. Little white frogs,
Okay,
poisonous
good.
white frogs, bringing Wednesday to all of us. All right, so we have got, starting off with the post-pandemic pandemic, COVID. I thought we're over. We crushed it. We beat COVID or Medicaid or the economy. What did we beat?
I don't know. Moving on to the
COVID.
worst of the week.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I thought we beat it and we're here.
Yes,
with
we
COVID,
are.
Post-COVID. Oh, did you want me to read all the hashtags right now?
I figured you were going to go through the list.
Sorry. Okay, shut up and vote. Worst of the week. Shut the fuck up and vote. Worst of the week. Gaza for all and one good thing. COVID. Where are we? Let's see our numbers in this post-pandemic world. 1,360 deaths this week.
Yeah, and remember, it was supposed to be 3,000 was when we could comfortably relax and not see COVID as a
3,000 infections.
Yeah, 3,000 infections was when
a week.
we
Sorry,
could relax and not live in fear of COVID.
That was.
But apparently now we
3,000.
can, even though we're at 1/100th of that level, or whatever it is.
Or whatever it is. Yeah, yeah, and that's only with very limited data coming in, right? Because nobody's testing unless they're going to the hospitals. Like it used to be that you tested and then you were supposed to report it to the state or your city. We reported to the city, right? Like so that we could do some contact tracing and figure out the state of affairs. And we are just scrubbing all of that. Yeah. Did you watch or listen to a friend of show, Julia Doubleday, who was fantastic on Bad Faith?
I did.
Great. Yeah.
On Bree's show. And I got to say kudos to Bree, Brianna Joy Gray, for, we've given her criticism over the pandemic for minimizing a little bit when she was on the show, mostly with Robbie, points,
with the hill, the rising,
right? rising. Yeah. And it wasn't that she undermined reality, but she kind of played into some of his minimization.
Yeah.
And, but she seems to be coming around on that, and having Julia on was amazing. She wasn't, Bree didn't shy away from sharing hard facts that Julia put out to her. And like, she could have chosen moments that weren't so inflammatory to the people who are pretending COVID doesn't exist, and she didn't. And kudos, and I hope we see more of that.
I do too. I also will say that Julia was fantastic because there was one moment where Bree was, being like just telling about her own personal feelings about it, and how she does realize that when she's with one of her friends who masks a lot or is very COVID conscious, it takes away or adds a little element of it feeling awkward and different in that social situation. And Julia was like, well, I think that response sucks, because the more you do things like that, the more that grows amongst people. And it's up to all of us to make people feel included and to know that this is serious. And I thought it was really admirable that Julia pushed back that way. And I will also say, and this is something I love about Brianna Joy Gray, every time I watch her with somebody, she went right along with that. She didn't bristle. She didn't get defensive. She was like, yeah, you're right. That is, I see, like, or, Julia, I don't know why I keep saying double date. Julia said something about, well, that's right-wing framing. And she was like, no, that's what was being told to us in the pages of the New York Times. And so then Julia said, yeah, but
that's still,
it started with right-wing framing that then Biden embraced and his administration and Blue MAGA.
Right.
And she, but I love Brianna Joy Gray. I love listening to her podcast. I love that she pushes back on all of her guests, people, like Noam Chomsky and Norman Finkelstein. She will come and basically they're on the same side of most issues as she is. And she will sometimes be sort of ruthless and seems fine when they are ruthless back. So I feel like that's the only way we all learn and grow. And I'm really appreciative for both of them.
Well, and that's what I always loved about her too, is she enabled a full discussion. Like, she got criticized for who she would have on. She got a lot of shit for aligning with Jimmy Dore on the stuff, even though he forced the vote, for example.
Right.
You can criticize her a little bit on forced vote, but I appreciate that she won't let it go because it was the right thing. I mean,
totally the right thing. Yep.
I do think the left kind of made a mistake allowing Jimmy Dore to own it more than the left itself should have owned it,
Yeah.
But it's how do you stop the guy,
Yeah.
So,
I also think he was the gateway for a lot of people who were former left, because I don't think you can consider yourself on the left and be, endorsing the let it rip strategy that's decimating the working class. Right. So but he was the gateway to that. And as we found out, and we haven't dug deep enough to know where all the money comes from. But we know that in general, the pushing of a false narrative about COVID and how it's mild and how kids won't get it and how we should let it rip and masks aren't effective, all of those started with, and I don't even, it doesn't even matter right wing, it's capitalism. It's just corporate goals. It's actually bipartisan. Of course it is.
Exactly. And I think that was when you see somebody that you love and respect on all these issues and you didn't get that challenge from her on COVID.
Yeah.
Because it was such a blind spot. Like, in so many other ways, she would understand how the right wing has taken over the left wing framing in the Democratic Party, and it's all neoliberalism, it's all capitalism, everything behind every policy is based on screwing the workers over, and to not see that with COVID really was a blind spot. And I think she's starting to recognize, and thank you, Julia, especially.
And also,
because I just want that nuanced discussion on the left.
Right.
Like, even if you don't agree with her, I want you to be able to watch her show and hear the real counterpoints to this stuff that is the Republican framing.
The
right-wing framing.
Corporate. I mean, right. Because what happens is the belief science, Democrats pretend that there's something, that they're belief science. And then they hire the McKinsey type of people or propagandists like Leonard and Leanna Wen and Ashish Jha to construct the end of a pandemic that continues to ravage all of us. But they are on the left spectrum of our country, which is actually a far right party, the Democrats, if it were in any other country. But so what that does, it does feed into a lot of leftist narratives, right? Like, I don't trust big pharma. I trust science. Like, if there's actual right, but that became conflated under Biden.
Exactly.
And so,
Instead of saying, I don't trust the government. Some of these people on the left fell into this pit of, so you shouldn't trust big pharma. Well, you shouldn't trust big pharma either. But the people behind the science are not either big pharma or the government. Right. The actual scientists are the ones you should be listening to on this stuff. And when they conflated those two things, all the lies from the government, which is Fauci or Leanna Wen or Joe Biden,
Leonard or Shisha,
all those
whatever.
were lumped in together, and
Yeah.
you really weren't pushing back on the scientists.
Right.
The pushback was on these people in the government. And
Right.
so the people on the left, like Jimmy Dore, took these lies that people would believe and fed them more lies, which were anti-science lies.
Right.
And he had a captive audience to latch onto this stuff. And it was the same time that he was starting to go on Tucker. And so all of this led him to a huge profit windfall on the right.
Right. And also, it was the government response was vile. It became, an upward transfer of billions of dollars to the wealthiest people in our country while they let working class people go hungry and then force them back to work. Like first they didn't have the PPE they deserved. Nurses were sent to hospitals in garbage bags. And then people are dying and we need first responders. We're going to ring a bell at 6 p.m. every night. We're not going to pay people to stay home. They did that in other governments. We're not going to give people free health care, which they have in other developed countries, right? So that's a government response that, yes, disaster capitalism. They used this disaster to funnel more money to the wealthiest people in the world. It doesn't mean that COVID isn't real or dangerous or that masks don't work.
And the vaccine efficacy, for example, is the other big thing. A vaccine is supposed to wipe out. You're not supposed to be able to spread COVID after the vaccine. Well, those are lies told to you by a wishful Joe Biden, they gambled everything on the fact that these vaccines actually would do that stuff. They didn't know it wouldn't, but they didn't know it would work.
Right.
I mean, they didn't know one way or another, but they just put out to the world that this is what it does, and it doesn't do that. So there again, the government's lying to you, but the scientists behind it did not say, we know this is going to do this.
Right.
And so, the framing of all of it that led people to believe all this right-wing shit it's just like with other issues. It's like blaming the immigrants. Right. You need a scapegoat. So the whole government led you to this thing. So all of COVID, is COVID real or not? Is it real or not? It's real.
Yeah. It is real. It is really harming people. It's not just the flu. Long COVID is a real thing. There is no cure for it. And it's just, anyway, this is all I'll say. I'm really glad that Bree had Julia on. They're two of my favorites. I love everything that Julia writes. I read and I listen to every podcast of Brianna Joy Gray. So it was a nice confluence.
Yeah. I just want to show this cartoon while we're on this. This is what it feels. This is like, this is the anti-maskers that are, be anti-vax if you want, whatever. The vaccine is, at this point, you've had COVID, so you have some immunity, but you should still get a vaccine. But, you found some articles on in the internet that all the top doctors and scientists missed. Yeah, that's watching the Jimmy Dore show right there.
And by the way, sorry, I'm trying to read comments while I'm also trying to think. It's really bad. Fauci, World Health Organization did themselves and the world no favors by lying that it wasn't airborne. They knew that in February. They knew it. The World Health Organization that gets its most funding apart from nations, the individual who funds World Health Organization the most is Bill Gates, who fought against releasing the patent of the vaccines so that we could have vaccinated the whole world. I mean, just think, because those initial vaccines were targeted towards the initial strain. They were incredibly effective. And people were still kind of masking, if right then they had released the patents and done as much as possible, and instead we did the worst thing possible, was vaccinate just some people, rip off masks, allow it to spread, and have just enough of a petri dish to keep learning and growing new variants. So
yeah, it's a mutation factor. I said that like 3 years ago. Our current policy is just a mutation factory.
Yeah,
that's it. We're not vaccinating enough. We're not protecting enough. We're spreading it indefinitely. You can't give this to kids, 2-3 times a year. In 10 years, that's 20 to 30 times they've had a COVID, which is brain, it damages your brain. It's damaging all your organs. It's causes heart vascular issues.
Yeah.
We know too much about it. It's immune aging. Yeah. This is, a new study in Brazil.
It's exhausting
T cells.
T cells. I mean, they're comparing it to AIDS.
Yeah. And so, the government realizes now they have to at least control a little bit more. So they put out free testing again. And what happened immediately, which is ridiculous, but immediately that site crashed. What does that tell you? That tells you the country is fucking sick. Everybody.
And they're not over it. They are not over it. I mean, they're not over it. Like when they're like, people just want to, they're past COVID. Nobody wants to bring themselves down with talking about it. They're crashing the site because they just want a free test. Like, come on. Yeah. And also, the other thing that I do think, I mean, I want to be careful with this because I also think that billionaires clearly, like when they build their own submarines that are, faulty and poorly made and then get in them themselves, or when they continually give themselves COVID, this takes away some of the credibility of the argument I'm about to make. But when you see billionaires going to Davos and you see that they have to have, PCR testing and wristbands with their PCR tests there, they clean the air, they ventilate, they do the UV far light, like they're doing everything for themselves. So they don't think it's over. The same with, we just saw with the Emmys, like rich people, they are very clear that this isn't over. And even though maybe they take some risks that aren't so smart, they are doing everything they think they know it's dangerous for all of us, and they are trying in their own ways to avoid it. So anyway.
Yeah. And consider that these are the people that have the wealth to get the best possible treatment immediately. And they're still taking all those precautions. Right.
Right.
I mean, what the data is showing is that like all kinds of countries are destroying Paxlovid that isn't even getting distributed. And all the data shows that who's most impacted by that? Black and brown people are less likely to be prescribed Paxlovid when they have COVID. And we know that does help a lot initially to keep the virus from spreading.
Yeah. They would rather destroy it than give people free health care that would cure them faster, which would actually send them back to work, not sick, faster. Like, and that is, I know we keep talking about it, but the inherent conflicts of capitalism, it's like, get everybody back to work. Who do you think is making your food in the restaurant? Like that has to go there and be sick, or is dealing with your, I mean, like people are killing themselves by thinking that they can just sort of like slough it off onto the least amongst us. I mean, it's so disgusting, but it also it doesn't work. It's not effective actually, even for them. Who's going to fucking take care of them in their bunkers? We'll all be dead.
Well, it's a race for AI. That's why the AI push is on. It's like we're trying to replace all the people because the frontline workers are all going to they're going to be disabled by COVID at this point. That's where we're headed. I mean, and
Kamala just said something about what'd she say? She's so happy to be partnering with some AI firm.
Today she said that.
Yeah. All right, I know.
All right, let's just we don't have too much on COVID today. Yeah. But places where they are still testing, Canada, this is tracking. This is September of last year versus September of this year. High, severe, and and whatnot. Basically the same thing.
But more. I mean, like if you're looking at the matching up to the different arcs, right?
Yeah.
Severe is like 20.5%, and at the same time the year before it was 12.3, right? So this isn't good.
No, I'm not trying
to. No, I know, but I just so bit like because it's sort of small. And it's the first time I'm seeing the graphic this way, but like it's worse now.
Much worse now. And in the US, it's much worse now. We are just not reporting it at all.
Yeah.
It's the leading cause of death in children, young people in the US.
A leading cause for a while.
A leading, but yes.
A leading, yeah.
For something that doesn't affect kids.
Disease.
For something that doesn't affect kids is what you will hear on the Jimmy Dore show. To this day, leading cause of death for kids. And that's not even talking about let's talk about leading cause of disability.
Yeah.
Leading cause of kids not being able to go to school.
Immunity responses dwindling. So like when they say more people are getting measles or whooping cough or pneumonia or these things that are not typical strokes, heart attack, like they might not be able to say, and maybe not every case is because the person had COVID, but all of those conditions are increasing, and we know that all of our immune systems are being attacked adversely. So yeah.
But I don't want to ignore the fact that a lot of the reason people on the left haven't taken this space up is that the vacuum of information and not them leftist media stopping reporting on this entirely gave way to the bigger people on the left, like the Doors and you know whatnot, to blame the vaccine itself for these problems. And so, like people in our chat here, you probably blame the vaccine for all these issues when you see these numbers are going up. Oh, there's more heart attack. Well, it's a vaccine. Oh, meanwhile, if you look at the scientists, there aren't credible scientists that think the vaccine is the problem at all. They're not saying the vaccine can't cause this stuff, but the vaccine exposes you to a teeny little smidge of a fraction of the actual COVID. Right. So if this little thing here is giving you all that stuff, what do you think the whole fucking COVID that you get millions of times is going to do to you? So,
and they know because they have that, they have the data from the year of COVID before a vaccine was there, right? So they know that already the occurrences and how it was affecting COVID, the infection was affecting people's health, their hearts, their vascular system, right? So we know that. Yeah.
And that's the point, is that data is all out there like crazy, right?
Yeah.
But when you watch someone like Jimmy Dore, he's not going to show you that data. He's going to show you the obscure thing he found on the internet that proves his point.
Right.
When 90% of the time, if you look at the study itself, the authors are saying, that's not my point.
Yeah.
Don't
like
draw
the mask
this
thing, like the
don't draw this
mask
distinction
that's been so abused and misinterpreted purposefully. And yes, as you said, because of the vacuum in corporate media, mainstream media, from our belief science, Democratic administration, what ends up happening is there is a space for grifters and even people who want to understand, like, why is this happening? Why was I healthy before I took a vaccine? Like, yeah, I got sick, but I didn't die. I didn't go to the hospital. I took a vaccine and now I am having adverse reactions. And, you know, for a while they silenced that. There are adverse reactions that some people have had with these vaccines, and those should be silenced, right? And so as soon as the government was like, oh, that's disinformation, we can't say that, you know, then that just provides a huge lane for people who want to take advantage of a lack of knowledge and information being put out there. It's really abominable. And both parties work together for their corporate masters. As we know, Pfizer bragged at their board meetings to their stockholders that now that we are lifting the mask mandates and telling people they don't have to mask and reducing the amount of time that they have to stay home with sick days and kicking people off of Medicare and taking away the OSHA protections, many more people are going to get sick, which is great news for Paxlovid. That's the plan. Like, they don't want to cure it.
If you're against big pharma, if you don't trust big pharma, which you shouldn't, you should be naturally, skeptical of big pharma. Well, they're telling their board members, because it's all about money, that masks actually help work to prevent COVID. So taking away those masks is helping them profit. So, pick a lane. If you're anti-big pharma, you should be pro-mask, unless you just don't think COVID is real or isn't destructive. But if you believe that, where are all these dead people from?
Yeah. Should we spin the wheel, or do we have anything more to say about COVID?
I had one positive thing. Hang on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this website, COVID Safety for Schools, they put out, it's a 90-minute video. So if your kids are in school and you're worried your teacher isn't taking precautions or whatever, I mean, it's a video you can link to and share with people.
Right.
A basic COVID safety that should be in place. And at least, it won't necessarily change their minds, but here's some information that's meant to show to someone skeptical.
Great.
So.
Yeah. And, just one last thing is, because I know there is a community of COVID cautious people online, and I understand it. They're terrified, whether because they're immunocompromised or they don't want to become immunocompromised from repeated infection, but can sometimes be very strict on precautions. And if they see anybody like even not wearing a mask outdoors, that could be enough, right? To make them sort of dissociate or block or whatever, pile on somebody. And one of the things that Julia was saying, which is true, is that both the infectious rate and the not getting infected rate happen exponentially, right? So like if your kid goes to a classroom where they have HEPA filters, that they've shown will reduce the rate for those kids by 20% of getting COVID. But that kid might live in a house where a mom works with people who are unmasked, or a dad has to go to work unmasked, or whatever it is. When each different community starts taking some precautions, not all of them, but some, then the infection rates keep going down exponentially, just the way when we just let it rip, they go up exponentially, right? So even if you can't be perfect, if you can test before you see people, if you can mask when you're indoor, like whatever it is, it all is beneficial. The more if less is more, just think about how much more is.
No, I agree with that completely. The only caveat I have is if you're seen as a leader on this issue, you should be pretty good on it. So I think some of the people, especially in immunology, that take those risks because they're at a convention and they're running around unmasked or something.
That's disgusting.
That's disgusting.
But like being outdoors without a mask on, I've seen some people get like kind of lambasted on that. And I get it. Like you have to still get it. You could, but
you have to, everyone makes their own risk assessment. Like, so outdoors is not without risk, but it's a lot less. And so if you're eating outdoors in a place where it's, truly open air, breeze going through, not around somebody that you think is highly likely to have COVID, that's one thing. But if you go from there and you unmask around someone immunocompromised afterwards or something, even from that, you should respect the safety of somebody who, I don't know, you should respect it all the time. But I'm just saying, to me, outdoor dining, if you got to do something because life is short or whatever, if you're that person, at least still take other precautions around. I think indoor dining shouldn't happen. I'm sorry. I am against.
I mean, I agree. I have not dined indoors for years. That's not true. At the beginning of the vaccine, I know that we were in a couple places, but I mean, when those things have happened, when I have felt like I put myself in compromising positions, then and this isn't enough, but I will use that nasal spray and keep testing every day and all those sorts of things so that I don't spread it. I mean, I think that's the other thing, is that if you are on the left at all, you're supposed to believe in community care, protecting other people. It's not just a you do you situation, right? So I think that's the other thing, is like, if I decide for whatever reason to compromise myself in a situation.
You're making the point I was trying to make. Like, then, if you're doing you with your risk assessment, at least you're not putting that risk assessment on other people, because besides your one little moment dining or something, for example, you're not then going to hang out with grandma at the old folks home. And as somebody, Cora, I think in the chat said, we're all immunocompromised. So I don't mean to say we should just be careful around something. But I think there's a difference between what you do yourself versus what you expose other people to. And if you're extremely precautious with COVID, you going to the restaurant, you're not exposing other people, where you're more likely exposed to yourself, is what I'm saying in that situation. But if you carry that beyond that, now you're exposing other people. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. COVID.
All right. Should we spin the wheel? Are we done with the COVID bit? All right. I'm going to put it up here. Let's move on to something really fun. Here we go.
Yeah, baby.
All right. We got puppets.
The wheel has spoken.
The wheel has spoken.
See.
I'm just going to keep drinking my wine because I got a lot of wine to get through here.
All right, let's just watch. This is just one kitten and some kitten combat.
Okay.
This guy looks a lot like Strike. Almost over.
Cats are funny.
Yeah.
I love them. That's very cute.
I think I must be missing Strike because that video appealed to me when I pulled it initially more than probably should have.
Now that she's back.
Yeah, exactly.
She is adorable. She is adorable. All right. Man, you know, it's not going great for the country in general. But you know, as much as they sort of manufactured this rollout of Kamala, and as well as it went initially, it's not sticking. She's not doing enough to change minds. The fact that she's still so close to Trump is just incredible to me. And we'll talk about the speech that she gave on economics today. But in these 3 states, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, I don't think these are the Sunbelt states. I don't even think that's entirely right. So sorry. But anyway, he's ahead. Gender favorability, that is where the split is.
Right. But
yeah.
his advantage with men is bigger than her advantage with women, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And she's largely taking advantage of women under 30, I believe, is her core segment.
Yeah, this is all right. Here come my readers. This is so small. This is from the Quinnipiac poll.
You're bringing data
today. No, I'm going to bring some data here, but okay. So she has women 52%. Oh, but see, yeah, it doesn't divide up. I didn't get into those crosstabs. This was crosstabs of ages, and 18 to 64-year-olds. They are pretty much tied. You know, a few percentage points here and there, either which way. It's when you get into the 65 and older, Kamala has, you know, like an 8% difference. And then, yes, the men and women split on the 2 of them. But, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that her campaign is relying more on the turnout of young people, which historically hasn't gone great, although recent elections, it's gone up significantly. But the young people are also very tuned into Palestine and unhappy about that.
Yep.
And so for her to carry the enthusiasm that, you know, Obama had with young people, going through a cycle of Biden, and now to her, that young enthusiasm to vote for Democrats isn't really there now. And she needs that. Like, so what, regardless of what any of these polls show, she's going to have, she needs to come in way over that number to actually get the votes, because the enthusiasm is going to be low among her most needed base.
Right. And the other thing that I think, you know, a lot of the pundits and the blue MAGA people who are like, we don't need your votes, and fine, young people, who cares? They never vote anyway. Maybe they don't vote. You know who they are? They're the activists who actually are part of the groups that bust people to get out the vote, who raise awareness, who do the work on the ground. And that
now
she's not going to have.
Swifties.
Yeah.
They really thought she would get a significant bump from the Swifties, and the polling shows that it made no difference. But they will probably, like you said, it'll probably provide some poll workers and people to drive them to the, you know, that kind of thing. But
yeah, maybe, but I don't know if the Swiftie crowd is the ones who are doing the activism. You know, the people that she's not doing well with with young people are Black, brown, working class people. And to those people, she doesn't have an agenda. You know, you can't say we're going to give you a tax credit for buying your first home. Like, that's not a plan for most people. That's a plan that appeals to the billionaire crowd. And the fact that she keeps in this time where people are feeling so devastated, the American dream is gone. Nobody thinks that they can get a house. Kids are living, you know, the joke, oh, you're living in your mom's basement or whatever. Yeah. Like, that's not by choice. That's by necessity. And
that's, but that's a joke framed by the Democrats against burning people. Yeah. It was a conscious decision to go after these young, suffering people who have to be living in their parents' basement, you know, like.
And so then to trot out, you know, Oprah Winfrey on the stage at the convention and JB Pritzker, who's a real billionaire, like, that's something that's going to appeal to your base. Oh, really? It's a real billionaire. So he actually really stole those wages from labor and is ravaging our environment. Awesome. And then, you know, you have, so Oprah Winfrey, and now Mark Cuban is out there. In her speech today, she's referring to Warren Buffett, like, you know, who helped run the trains that blow up in East Palestine. Like,
yeah, today was her big,
like, the cognitive dissonance on who she has to appeal to and what she's doing is so vast. It's unbelievable. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
No, today was sold to the press, at least, as her big economic speech. She's going to lay it all out there with the agenda and where we go. And she did she focused on small business a lot, right? That was a lot of the speech today. What she did was put out the same thing she did with the what were you just talking about? Oh, first time homeowners, a tax credit. So a $25,000 tax credit, if you can't save $25,000 to buy a house, is utterly useless. Right. And once again, you're just benefiting the people that already have the money.
Yep.
So you're expanding the wealth gap by doing something like that. And she's doing it with small businesses now. She's offering it right now. There's currently a $5,000 tax credit if you open a small business. At least that's what she says. She's going to expand it to $50,000. So that's $50,000 someone who just has a whim to start a business can do, and they'll get that money back if you have $50,000.
Right.
If you don't have $50,000, her plan doesn't help you a lick to get that business going. So you're just benefiting wealthy people more.
I mean, all of it. And like the deregulation. And listen, I agree that there is too much red tape and we should be building high-speed railway and stop like forming commissions and meetings and how we're going to spend all this money. And then what always ends up happening is we don't know where the money went. We can't find the trail, you know, and China, meanwhile, is like revolutionizing their whole country. But we know that what's really going to happen is BlackRock and Vanguard are going to get away with, you know, building cheap housing for more people, and it will not be up to regulations that will actually keep them safe. So everything, you know, it's like the tax cuts that Republicans do is how they transfer their, you know, our wealth to their billionaire pals. And for Democrats and neoliberals, it's tax credits. That's how they do it. Oh, you want to, you know, fly your jet back and forth 20 times a week? Great. We'll do an offset. So you'll pay a fine. That doesn't help the environment. You're fine. Right. So but it's always that's the way that neoliberals, the, you know, Elizabeth Warren people, it's all about filling out more paperwork and tax credits. That is not helping change what needs to be changed in this country.
But what she's signaling is also like truly a handout to the right on all these issues, I feel, because one of the things she said was she wanted to fast track development. Okay. Fast tracking development is code for deregulating.
Yes.
That is deregulating industry.
You're telling me you agree with me. That's just what
I agree with you. But I mean, I'm just making the direct connection. Like, fast tracking development equals deregulation. Directly.
Exactly. So do you want to take a little bit of a look into what she said, or
do we want to watch Kamala? Did you just ask me that? No, we don't want to watch Kamala yet.
You know, let's just watch the response to it, because she didn't say anything new. And here's the other thing that is so dangerous is when she has the teleprompter there and her speech writers, if you don't know a lot, you hear the way she speaks. She sounds sane. She's not a raving lunatic like Trump. And that's really comforting to a lot of people. Those speeches and that nice demeanor is what led us to Trump. So unless the Democratic plan is we will always win from here on out and Republicans will never win, Democrats have to figure out a different way to beat Republicans than just joining the right-wing crowd. And they have not done that yet. So this was really interesting on CNN right after this speech, which, she sounded really lovely. It's a path forward. It was trying Obama stuff, but without his eloquence. And every time, Pat and I were watching it and texting each other, every time she goes off script, it's just like, you can
it's
tell.
So clear too, because she's making a good point. And then she goes into some word salad
doesn't
garbage.
Really know what she's saying, and the here is now, and we're not going back, and the future is forward. But here was her former advisor on CNN right afterwards.
A little critical of the vice president. I felt like there was absolutely nothing novel about what happened today. I mean, to give an economic speech at an economic club in Pittsburgh, I mean, there's nothing about that feels fresh, new. It's not even consistent with what I even know about her. I worked for as her communications director. So my point is to her and her team, you've got 40 days. The only way you can beat Donald Trump is you've got to take greater risk. That message that happened today at 3 o'clock in the middle of the day, I'm not sure that that's going to move any of the constituents that she needs to target right now, Latino and black men, for example. I'm not sure they heard themselves in that speech. And what I know about the vice president is she actually sees people, and they need to put that on display. But this was not, to me, a great...
I mean, that takes a bit of integrity to say that. Yeah, say again.
Oh, I just said that's pretty damning that she's out here saying this. And CNN did not expect that. No. She's not coming back on.
Yeah.
I did write down a quote. I forgot. I messaged this to you. Oh,
look at you doing some research.
Well, I'm just looking at my text from earlier to you.
Yeah.
If I need to research, I can just look at my text. I do my own research. But she said, this is one of her going off script things.
All right.
We don't have to abandon a strength that we know for a strength that we plan. What the fuck does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, but she just throws that shit in there. And another thing, since we were talking about, was it jets or the billionaires? You were talking about the billionaires. Yeah. Did you catch that CNN had an ad on for private jet rentals during the fucking... Oh my God. There was a private jet rental ad on during her fucking speech segment. So that's what CNN has become. It's not that's not for us. It's not for regular folks. Regular folks aren't renting a jet, but her jet owner audience, that's where we're at. This is a real class fucking warfare here.
Do you remember when Bernie called them out in the middle of CNN? He was like, we're about to go to commercial break. Who's going to be doing it? And it was either Big Pharma, Pfizer, or it was Lockheed Martin or whatever. Yeah, it's so gross. But again, so now we have Mark Cuban coming on. So here's what happens. You get Trump saying huge, crazy things that he's never going to do, but they're really appealing. Honestly, his new thing, it's never going to happen, but of saying we're going to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. Because nobody is ever getting out of the credit card debt that we're all in. I mean, we're really in it over here. But I think we're at $2 trillion of credit card debt right now. I mean, and it's gone up astronomically just in the last 4 years. And it almost correlates exactly to the wealth gain of the richest people, right? But so he says he's going to cap it at 10%. And everybody makes fun of him and what that would do to the economy. And there are all these different things. And then we get Mark Cuban on there, who's a billionaire, self-made man. They always say this about billionaires. Just doing the most disgusting edition of fish hook theory because they cannot help themselves. So here he is with Jake Tapper.
Compared policy proposals made by Trump to those from independent Senator Bernie Sanders, who's a socialist. What do you mean?
Oh, it was a race for socialism, right? Bernie said that credit card companies should cap their rates, their interest rates at 15%. Donald Trump, being the socialist that he is, had to beat Bernie. So Donald Trump went out and recommended that interest rate caps be set to 10%. The fact that he's even suggesting price controls and price caps is socialism 101. You haven't heard that from the vice president. You have heard that from Donald Trump.
Well,
I mean, he's making me want to vote for Donald Trump. What's he doing?
Do you know how crazy it is to say that 10% cap on interest rates for credit cards is socialism? That's socialism.
Usury is socialism.
10%. I mean, that's a ridiculous rate as it is, but like capping it. Okay, and this just reminded me, the private jet commercial, was from another guy from Shark Tank, one of Cuban's partners.
Of course it was.
He's running the business, not the dumb, obnoxious guy. But
I don't know. I don't watch reality TV. I don't know. Unlike you. By the way, Cora, thank you. I know. Cora. Yeah, we got to talk about it. Cora, thank you. That is so amazingly sweet. Cheers to you. Much love to you. Cheers. Thank you. So generous.
I'll grab the full beer. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to do my refill.
That's rude.
Were you going to tell me about Survivor and John Lovett?
Yeah. Turn this off if you're a spoiler and you didn't see the first episode of Survivor and you care. But John Lovett's from the Pod Save America show. I tune into Survivor, and I know I hate people don't like reality shows and it's garbage. Yeah. But any show where someone gets kicked off at the end of the week, I can watch it. It's a competitive thing. I don't know. I love outdoor shows, survival shows. So I watch Survivor, cancel me. I don't give a shit. But John from Pod Save America, I tune into the show. I like to watch, and he's on the show. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? But the beauty of it was he looked like a schmuck, and he was the first one gone. So there you go.
Yeah, it's so sad because he was the one who was kind of Bernie-ish years ago, and they just all, get their paycheck from the same people. Okay, so we are back to 2024. No policy, no nothing. Lots of celebrity endorsements. Oh, that was the other thing, because of course, as Jill Stein is gaining momentum, and Democrats are scared, and they send out all their people, with the whole Putin stuff. And they show the one picture that they always show to smear her, right? The picture of her sitting at a table with Mike Flynn, who wasn't he in Obama's administration? So it's just funny, how people become tainted and then not tainted, but okay. Fucking Dick Cheney, we're honored to have his endorsement apparently in the Democratic Party. But anyway, so they always bring that out, and then of course there are pictures of Hillary Clinton hugging Putin and Bill Clinton getting $500,000, from
the hypocrisy is crazy.
Right? Yeah. So now I just keep thinking with this whole P. Diddy thing, which is atrocious. It's disgusting. The details are so vile. But, there's Oprah with P. Diddy, with Weinstein, with the most repulsive people in the world. And that's fine. If it were Bernie with one of those people, that would be the end of him. If it were Jill Stein, so they really pick and choose when they're going to be outraged by the most disgusting people in this world. And Oprah is certainly one of them. But anyway, it just makes me so mad, the hypocrisy. And I know it's so silly to keep doing hypocrisy, because that's what Democrats always do about Republicans. And I know that Republicans don't give a shit. They just do whatever they want. So I need to just also know, of course, that's what Democrats do. But I feel like they think they're better people. I don't think Republicans think they're good people. I think that's the difference. I don't think Republicans are like, we're the better party because we're kinder and good to people. No, that's not what they think.
That's long gone. It used to be, they're hanging on to America, so they think they're good for our people, which still comes inherently with knowing you're being sort of selfish. You have to know on some level, oh, the Mexicans took my job or something,
right.
Even if you don't like, if you're racist, you still know that there's something there.
Right. Yeah.
But look, we don't like doing guilt by association, but if you're going to do that stuff to Bernie, then this is the stuff that we should be doing to you, which we're not doing per se. Right. But look at this. This is the COVID. First off, why is AOC speaking in a black? It's a COVID forum thing they had. couple years ago about Black issues regarding COVID, and AOC was there. But here's it's a short clip.
Is right.
This is definitely the start. This is the start of the conversation. AOC, you have something else to say?
Yeah, no, it's like Angela's saying it all right now, because it really calls into question, why it's not just do Black Lives Matter, but why do they matter to you?
I see you on the front line. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
Hey everybody, it's good to be with you this evening. Sean, I want to thank you because you always have a way of convening and bringing folks together.
Oh, man. I mean, not even sure why he was part of anything, but I also do just have to say, just like with Weinstein, everybody knew who he was. And if they didn't know directly, there were people around him who told them, just the way Lena Dunham, for whatever you want to say, she was one of Hillary's surrogates in 2016 and said, everyone knows Weinstein's a rapist. You can't keep trotting him out. And she was ignored. These rumors and way more have been circulating around whatever he wants to be called now, P. Diddy, Puff Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever, but why is he even part of anything as serious as a global pandemic? I don't know. The whole thing's disgusting. And it's been really interesting to see all the different people who are resigning, because you got to wonder where that's all coming from. But yeah,
there are a lot of stories out there, but what we know for sure are that he had rapey parties and drug people, and that happened. Now, he's a celebrity in LA, right? So just being at the party, I'm not going to say you're guilty. I don't want to do that game because I don't think that's I don't think that's accurate. Too many people were at this party that weren't part of that stuff.
Right.
So
yeah. Which party? Because there were parties all the time. The rape parties.
No, the parties were all the time. There's this famous white party, but like
anybody who's famous who happened to be there didn't necessarily condone it or even
you
know
can't.
What was happening.
It's like, honestly, like some people probably were on Epstein's plane and not going to Rapey Island, honestly, because look, you didn't watch the ad for the private jet. Private jets are expensive. So if you can get a jet flight,
if you can get a jet flight and a young girl massaging your back while you go to Africa.
To imply that anybody's at these parties was guilty of stuff is just not right.
Okay. Sorry. The only reason I would like to extricate what's his name, Epstein, from this is because a lot of these people hung out with Epstein after he had already been charged and was found guilty of raping children. And so
probably some piece to that as well, because a lot of these people in Hollywood knew they were going to a party of a guy who was doing shady stuff, but
more money. Anyway, the game of who you're connected to and how that tarnishes you was used to full weaponization against Bernie. And and the funny thing is they'll do it now with Trump. Like they will show pictures of Trump with Diddy, which
Trump and Diddy, like they did with Trump and Epstein. Like the Democrats are out there showing the Trump and Epstein thing like it's a thing, and not Biden and Epstein. I mean, not Biden, but
Clinton. Clinton just gave another award to Biden. Why is Clinton allowed to show his face in public? Right? But that's okay. Billionaires are evil people. Nobody earns $1 billion. And yet we're going to trot them off on stage and refer to their comments about how Warren Buffett thinks that, we should deal with the economy, and Mark Cuban. And anyway, it's a big disaster because they don't have a project. They don't have a vision. So it's all about who's endorsing her and how pretty she looks and her recipes. There's just nothing else. And I just don't think that
it's not enough
is going to swing. And you know what? Maybe it even will, but it's not really going to help the people who need help. No matter what, no matter who wins of those two, we're fucked.
It's going to be worse for the country if she wins without policy. To me, I mean, if she at the end states all these leftist positions, it's what at least the discussion continues. That's sort of left. There's an argument on the left instead of our leftists like Cuban going a 10% increase is socialism.
Oh my God, or a cap, yeah,
10%.
Yeah,
cap.
He's disgusting because, of course, he wants to keep people in debt. Of course, that is the best way to control labor. I mean, that's what we do. The U.S. does to the global South and poor countries, right? I mean, even in serfdom times, they had debt jubilees because at a certain point, it is so devastating to know that to have no hope ever to get out of this cycle of debt, And I'm seeing the Clinton Foundation is vile. They stole millions of dollars that were supposed to go to rebuilding Haiti. And, again, like one of her head advisors or one of the Clinton Foundation's head people in their administration was part of a child adoption ring that has a lot of unsettling details in it. There's a lot going on when people are this wealthy, and to just pick and choose the people who are have the ick factor because it happens to be somebody who you're afraid might change the way we do the economy in this country. I mean, they're all wanting the same thing. So it's just how it's dressed up, but it's disgusting.
Yeah.
All around.
All right. So, should we briefly?
I don't know. What do you want to do? Or what are you telling me? Go ahead. Spin.
No, I was just do we talk? All right. The death penalty case that was overlooked.
Yeah.
Marcellus Williams, Supreme Court put him to death. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear the case. The state Supreme Court people who denied it. Let's see, where is he?
Well, and the three. So this is appalling because there was a lot of evidence, exculpatory evidence. Even the prosecutors said he should not be put to death, and they questioned whether he was even guilty. But it was the three dissenting views were of the liberal justices, which started a whole new barrage of attacks on the left.
Yeah, but as far as the local judge in the state who had the power to overturn or not, what do you call it? Stay the execution.
Yeah. Look at me on my third glass of wine giving you words. Yeah.
Yeah, give me all the words. He refused to stay the execution, but here's some quick cases he stepped into. He pardoned these guys. Remember them? They were out in front. They were a meme for a while. They're pardoned. NFL coach Britt Reed, after he rammed his car drunk driving and high into two parked cars, crippling a 5-year-old, giving her permanent brain damage and taking away her ability to walk for life. So those are
what's important.
Yeah, but of course, this is not an opportunity to go, a black man killed while
everybody knows
leadership,
right? Yeah, I mean, I know, and so they say this. Fuck you to every leftist who said the Supreme Court didn't matter in 2016 and voted third party. We're not going to blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg for not stepping down. We're not going to blame Hillary Clinton for Pied Pipering her good friend Donald Trump into existence. We're not going to blame the sitting administration who, and as soon as you say this, you don't understand how politics work. It has to do whatever. Really? He went by 26 environmental laws to continue building Trump's wall. He has by-skirted Congress several times to continue funding and arming a genocide. He could use his stupid sundowning voice to bring attention and humiliate this judge and the whole system of justice for the past several weeks. But no, do you know what they did do in the Democratic Party? They stripped their adversity to the death penalty from their platform.
Not on the platform anymore. First time in 50 years or whatever, it isn't in the Democratic platform to be opposed to the death penalty.
But blame the voters from 2016. It's 8 years later, kiddos. like what I feel like that what's I was thinking of that person in the car who's like with I don't know what the person's name is, but she's like, wake up, kiddos. I wish I could do too. You know, she has that whole tantrum.
Yeah.
That's what I sound like, but in the other direction. But like, come on.
Forget about what you can do with your executive powers or whatever. Like, let's say he has no power. You can speak on it. That's allegedly the biggest power you have is the bully pulpit. You can go out there. Kamala can make it a campaign issue. This injustice happening right now, you know, that think about all the people in the state that she would gain support from who see this as an injustice happening. Right. So, you know, make the case, tell people what's going on there. Like you want to win over, forget about the people in the state completely. If you're Kamala Harris and you want to win over leftists who think you're not a leftist, fight for this. Fight. Let's show some fight for it.
No, because
instead she tweeted about reinstating the death penalty.
Their influence for the $15 minimum wage or whatever the hell. You don't understand. They're having talks in the back office.
Yeah, if you want Marcellus Williams to have been alive, you should have voted for us in 2016. And if you want to prevent this in the future, you better give us a Congress and a Senate to do something about it. But it's not on our platform. It's not even on our platform anymore.
Nope. I just won't veto it.
Yeah.
I won't veto it.
Bring me a bill.
Yeah. Bring me a bill and I won't veto it. Put that on a bumper sticker. I won't veto it. All right. So this was a big week in endorsements for what's her name? Kamala, because she did get the endorsement of Jennifer Lawrence, who hates Trump.
Huge.
She did not get the endorsement of Chappelle Roan, who, while she said that she will still vote for her, did not want to do an endorsement. There's a difference, right? But throwing your weight and basically saying to everybody who follows you, and she's got a lot of fans, that this is when you endorse, there's a different, it takes on a different weight from just saying, yeah, I'm going to vote for this person.
Yeah, I think we should show the video.
Because she's been decimated by people, and like the liberals are hating her.
Yeah, there's good and bad in what she had to say here. I'll disagree with some of it, but I still respect her for putting out this video and her views, and let's watch it and form our opinions.
A lot of what is going on with like policies, like obviously fuck the policies of the right, but also fuck some of the policies on the left. That's why I can't endorse. That's why I can't like put my entire name and my entire project behind one. Because there is no way I can stand behind some of the left's completely transphobic and completely genocidal views. So yeah, there are huge problems on both. You know what is right and wrong, and so do I. Fuck Trump for fucking real, but fuck some of the shit that has gone down in the Democratic Party that has failed people like me and you. And more so, Palestine. And more so, every marginalized community in the world. So no, I'm not gonna settle for what the options that are in front of me. And you're not gonna make me feel bad for that. So yeah, I'm voting for fucking Kamala. But I'm not settling for what has been offered, because that's questionable. It's questionable that our actions of our government, the actions of the internet, the actions of you and me. If this is what you are not understanding, you know what? Endorsing someone, if someone is publicly endorsing a political figure, that doesn't even mean that they're gonna fucking vote for them. Because as I said in my other video, actions speak louder than words. And I'm not gonna let this narrative of like me not playing both sides. No. This is not me playing both sides. This is me questioning both sides, because this is what we have in front of us. So if you look at my statement and you're still like, she's just playing both sides, like she doesn't want to, no, you're not getting it.
Okay, so I watched that clip, and there's another clip, and the other clip, she says the only thing we can do is vote, right? And that part I really didn't like, but I just wanted to say, as a whole, even though she's saying she's going to vote for Kamala, like, we shouldn't hate her for that, because like she's getting people to think about this deeper than both parties. And the people like her who are still going to vote for Kamala, they're the people close to being on the side of understanding politics ain't it. We need to change the two-party system. So, and she's a singer. I don't know. I really don't know her music at all.
I don't know either. Josh loves her. Chappelle Roan is her name, and I don't know her music. Josh loves her. I know she's really popular, and I know
Josh is cooler than both of us.
Oh, he's a big music guy. And yes, just like Reflect the Sun, anything that Gen Z and young girls likes, he was like a Tori Amos person before he really loves all of that. She was pretty funny, and I'm old, but she's great. And I feel so, it's so disgusting that the party that's trying to save democracy will, instead of pressuring the person they want to vote for to, stop a genocide or say that she will, Chapel. I don't know. Somebody just said Chapel.
Am I saying it wrong? I
don't even know.
That's how you know we're old. Hello, fellow kids.
But like they will always blame, and not that she's like the least of us. She's obviously a famous pop star, even though I don't know how to pronounce her name. But like, they are dragging her. They are being ruthless. They are, commenting on every part of everything she says, instead of looking to the person they want to be holding the highest position in the whole world and saying, stop funding a genocide, stop World War III. We need help here. We're not now. You can't say your climate. And she just put out a new video. I was about to call her Hillary, Kamala, about we're the climate presidency.
We're the pro-fracking climate presidency.
We're not. Yeah, we're going to frack our way to fixing the climate. That's impossible. That's a lie. That's a lie, right? So this is what makes people then, like, the same kind of people are like, oh, well, COVID's not true because they said, believe science and you can take off your mask if you get vaxxed, and then everybody's dying from COVID, or whatever. Like, this gives a weapon to the, to big oil and to people who say climate couldn't be that bad if she wants to still do fracking. It's impossible. It is impossible to help our climate if you continue to frack.
The Democratic Party is turning the entire country away from the most important issues of our life. I mean, they're effectively ending the fight for the climate change. I mean, if fracking is okay, humanity is dead. We're gone. We're gone. Absolutely gone.
Yep.
You can't undo all the damage we keep doing with fracking. But I want to say, is it Chapel?
I don't know. I'm seeing everybody say different things.
Whatever it is.
And like, this is disgusting. I'm sorry, Saul. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. What the hell? And I think Sierra Club already did. Like, Just Stop Oil, I think, is British. But like, I mean,
it's so foul. But what I want to say about her is they hate her because she's not black and white, because they want everyone thinking this polar way of thinking: black, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. That's it. Or, bad, less bad, bad, less bad.
Yeah.
They don't want any talk. She's the anti Taylor Swift because she's having this discussion, and who knows what she could say. And these young impressionable kids will hear her say, "Oh, Democratic Party isn't the hero that my parents think they are."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still looking at how everybody is telling me to pronounce it.
I don't know. I saw this comment, and that's.
I know. Well,
this guy gets it. This guy gets it.
All right. Are we moving on? Do we have more to say about anything with 2024? We have, I mean, Trump, here's the problem. And like, we all know this, but Trump is saying if he loses, he's going to blame the Jews, which is hilarious. I mean, whatever, but it's vile and anti-Semitic. And so but then the opposition has to be like, no, Jews will also vote for a genocidal candidate, just not you. Like, like the discourse has gone so low that there's just no point actually having any of these conversations with people who at this point still feel like these should be our only two options and that's okay. And who don't understand that Trump is the absolute natural culmination, and it's going to get worse, but of everything that our neoliberal policies have put in motion.
It is, and the system is not going to change naturally. Like, we're not going to vote our way out of this. We're not going to have enough influence to change the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They've figured out this formula that the donors can just keep pushing right. The right guy is always going to be wacky, insane. The more radical that guy is, the more the left can get away with, which pushes everything to the right. And we got more corporate policies supported by both parties.
Yep.
It's just a distraction that will always work. And until that formula breaks, I
would hope, so many things should wake people up that if they're not awake yet, it's probably hopeless. But we have a country right now that is letting people, die. I know a few people are mentioning there are huge storms happening, climate change, there's COVID, there's no healthcare taken off the, they're going to improve access, whatever. But, the left party, the liberal party, we're not going to talk about healthcare anymore. We're not even talking about a living wage. We're not going to talk about death penalty. We're not going to stop arming a genocide, which, by the way, is now going into, 2 more countries. And in the midst of all of this, we do not have a president. Like, there's nobody coming out to talk to his people. So that should really show people what a joke, what a total kayfabe play this all is.
You just reminded me of something from Kamala's speech today too, because we're not even talking about healthcare. When's the last time we've had a discussion of it other than around COVID? But she had the balls to say today to everybody in her big economic speech that she would do for everybody what she did for seniors in lowering drug prescription prices. So she put out this blanket statement like she just capped the price of drugs for seniors. Right. That's what she said. I'll cap the price for everybody like I did for seniors. Well, she did that on a handful of drugs, but to put that out there like she did that she's going to do for everybody this massive thing that she did for drugs, seniors.
Some of them will kick in for a few years. And by the way, so now she gets to take proprietorship of things that are happening in this administration. Which ones does she want to take ownership of? She only gets the credit, but none of the pushback?
Yeah, that's the game, obviously. But
Jesus, I despise all of these people
so much.
Yeah, but really. Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay. Yeah, we're
just in time.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, do we have a second puppet?
We do.
Okay. Is that our only other one though?
Yeah, you pull.
Okay, I'm gonna remove it. Okay.
Go on, ma'am.
Get it, cat. Get it. No. Yeah.
Very cute. Love it. Love it. All right. Moving on.
Are we on to
oh my
God,
God, I think he's our first repeat of Worst of the Week.
Is he? What an honor. What an honor.
I also am not entirely clear why this is making so much news today, but I'm happy to trot him back out. But ProPublica just released this report that Anthony Blinken,
who's our worst of the week?
Worst of the week, our head diplomat. Israel deliberately blocked humanitarian aid to Gaza, two government bodies concluded. Anthony Blinken rejected them. So this is the reporter, Brett Murphy, leaked docs. While Gaza-starved USAID and States Refugees Bureau came to a legally explosive conclusion. Here are the readers, Devin. Israel had deliberately prevented food and medicine from getting in, but Blinken told Congress the exact opposite so the arms could keep flowing. Behind the scenes, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Jack Lew, had pushed Blinken to trust the Israelis who promised to help facilitate aid, even though Lew's own staff at the embassy had repeatedly told him that wasn't the case. No other nation has ever provided so much humanitarian assistance to their enemies, Lew told them. If they had heeded their own experts on the ground and in Washington, the government would have been required to cut off arms sales, but they didn't. Blinken's statements to Congress, one former official said, will haunt us. But okay, so this is, again, like they knew. What I don't understand is this State Department woman, Stacey Gilbert, she quit back in May because their research and their report on what was happening on the ground had been, she says, whitewashed in order to continue sending arms. So what she said was, I was shocked, however, that it also went on to say that it is our assessment that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance. That is not the view of subject matter experts at the State Department, at USAID, nor among the humanitarian community. And that was known. That was absolutely known to the administration for a very long time, not just within the government, but having received reports and letters from organizations on the ground in Gaza, organizations the US government funds, credible organizations saying. And what I don't understand is Asal Rod, who's fantastic, put, all of this together, but these were back in April. Story gets out that Blinken's ignoring Israeli human rights abuses. PR story appears that Biden administration is going to do something. Israel publicly acts outraged that laws may apply to them. And then Biden administration quietly decides to do nothing. But again, they knew this back in April. So I'm sort of not entirely sure why. I think maybe they have more proof that Blinken, I think there was an email chain where Blinken is shown to be personally having the knowledge that they were denying aid to Gazans and still ignored it to go ahead and lie to Congress and give more arms to the country who was, and that's against U.S. law.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know either why it's coming out now. To be honest, we both kind of tried to look into it, and who knows? I mean, maybe it's a coup within the State Department, because a lot of people, like who was it that we were just showing? I forget her name. State Department, Stacey Gilbert.
Stacey Gilbert, yeah.
A lot of people internally know what's going on. They're disgusted by it, and so maybe there's a push to hang this all on Blinken before the administration passes over. Who knows? Maybe it's true altruism, and they just want it to stop, and that so these people are leaking this stuff.
Yeah, I'm really trying to understand, because nothing ever seems to matter. And as Macarius is saying, like I don't know why I keep saying we. The U.S. did nothing to the George W. Bush war criminals, who clearly, with tons of proof, were shown to be war criminals. And now they're all being welcomed into the Democratic Party, who is honored to have them there. And So I don't know. Is this like getting it out there ahead of time? I don't know. What is the thing?
I mean, I honestly think it's either a leak from people that care about Palestine internally, like pushing the narrative. I mean, this hasn't hit the news yet. This has hit the low key news, but CNN's not reporting on Blinken being a part of this or anything like that,
Right.
Or alternatively, it's that they're going to hang him. They know the policy is so bad and so damning, and that they probably have to stop this before we have a nuclear war, since it's escalating with Iran and these other countries. So, maybe they're finding a way to plant the seeds for a scapegoat.
Possibly, but he was on. Okay, I know. I mean, I want to know. He was on CBS this morning. They even bring it up. He kind of just maybe they're giving him a way out before. I don't know, but like he sort of talked his way around it, and then they just moved on. They didn't push back. They never pushed back. I just don't.
It's hard to say. I don't know. I will say that of all the news organizations, CBS for the mainstream TV has the most honest of the coverage.
Really? I've not done a.
Which kind of surprised me that he showed up there, but I think they're better than their world's better than CNN. I'm not saying they're honest and leftist, but
right. Yeah.
I've seen some good coverage from them occasionally.
All right, that is very good to know. Before I get kicked off, which I haven't in a few weeks, I'm so happy. But Reflect the Sun, thank you. You are so amazing. I just wrote a little thing in the chat. We would love to send you something. So if you would like to DM us in our pup Twitter, we would love it, and we would love to send you a little something to thank you for being such a great
hope you like cats.
Members. Strike's coming your way now.
Strike. Oh, there
thank
she
you.
is.
Cheers. She heard her name.
Yeah, I rubbed her. She's sitting over here next to me.
So but there was no pushback. And then just to go back to Blinken right now, I mean, I'm not even entirely sure which way to go with him, because he's been such a disgusting liar and such, again, hypocrite on the Russian war crimes, which of course there are war crimes. His involvement in the decimation of Ukraine, which, we used to do a whole segment on Ukraine every week for 2 years, or almost a year and a half. And then now it's been usurped by a genocide in Gaza. But the difference in the coverage or the response to Russia invading Ukraine and Israel destroying a group of people whom they dominate and occupy the land of, and then truly having these imperialist, greater Israel desires, where they're now bombing 3 countries and using the exact same terminology about Lebanese civilians that they used about Palestinians. And it just goes unchecked. Honestly, this is the least of it. I mean, it's not the least of it. It's horrible, but it's just so disgusting what's happening and what the US has been complicit in, what Blinken is allowing in Ukraine now. They, a year ago, said that, I think it was the BBC, said that probably upwards of 500,000 Ukrainians have been killed in the military. People are escaping. They are kidnapping. They call them conscription squads, are kidnapping men off the street who haven't been trained, forcing them onto battle lines, basically just to be, I don't know, shields? I don't know what, just to absorb bullets and die. That's what's happening right now. We know that Zelensky wanted peace actually even before it happened. And then US twice after the war started shut down peace negotiations.
Yeah. And this is another reminder that just because we both don't support the war over there, we don't think we should be a part of funding this, doesn't mean we support Russia either. There's a lot of this Russia and China are the good guys. China's a lot better actor than Russia, to be honest, but Russia are not the good guys. Just want to put that asterisk out to the world.
Yeah,
they're a fascist dictatorship. So
But by the way, so is Ukraine. Ukraine's not doing anything to
So
save
is
democracy.
Ukraine. Exactly.
They're banning the Russian language. They're banning left parties. They're banning any opposition to the war. They are stealing people off the street to just shove them in front of bullets and to die. They are, and here's the other thing is when the US helped stage the coup in Maidan in 2014. They did it by funding, as the US does all around the world, the most right-wing fascist groups of militias. Those people are now part of government and are invested in the survival of Ukraine, whatever that's going to mean, in a way that it's not like you're just going to get rid of that faction. They have been strengthened, right? So, and there were State Department and FBI reports that have now almost been entirely scrubbed, and like in Time magazine talking about how the Azov battalion, the far right Nazi party or militia group in Ukraine, trains right-wing mercenaries and people from the US who fly over there to be trained by these groups that we're arming, and then come back here and they do the Unite the Right rally, or they infiltrate and help be part of, and they're part of like the January 6th insurrection. So like it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And Anthony Blinken, our head diplomat, has been part of the orchestration of all of this.
Absolutely. The only thing our government cares about is continuing to fund all these wars that we don't support. And he's guilty party number 2 probably in the government right here.
Yeah.
And what's happening over there in Ukraine and Russia, it's the first real drone warfare experiment. And that's not being talked about enough. It's drones. Drones are killing people on both sides of this thing. And so you look at the US, that's coming our way. We're doing the same thing. They're testing all these, they're testing the robot police, it's like RoboCop out there too, not just the drones. They're testing all the experimental weaponry. And so who has an interest in seeing what happens with that? Our weapons manufacturers want to go out there and test all this stuff we can't in any other legal war that's ours. So they use them with the, it's a proxy war basically.
Yes. But also like who sold it was Obama, right? He was doing it by drone. 90% of the people killed by drone under Obama were civilians. And it was sold as being a better way of warfare because our own people weren't getting killed. The other thing is, as a reminder that Zelensky was elected on a platform of peace. And we don't even have to show this video, but it's from like 2019 where he was talking about we can't ban Russian language. Like he was trying very hard to appeal to that right sector, the right sector, but also the Azov, like all of those Nazi far right parties, that we have to all come together. He said, I speak Russian and I'm Ukrainian. And, like he was hoping for peace. Even before Russia invaded, there were talks of openings for diplomacy, and Zelensky tried to appeal on Twitter and to any media outlet that would listen to him to tone down the belligerent rhetoric that we don't have to have war. Then Russia invades in February of 2022. In March, there was an opening for peace. And Victoria Nuland just a month and a half ago basically just corroborated news that we had already heard from several other people, both in the State Department and Turkey, Turkish ambassador, and other independent reporters, because those are the people who always break it, that the U.S. and Boris Johnson, in the UK, had basically shut those down. People want peace, but again, it all comes back to who's going to rebuild this country that we've decided to destroy. BlackRock. They've already done a deal. BlackRock is coming in for billions of dollars.
Yep. But I mean, I also see some correlations between Zelensky and Netanyahu in that, in that you got two leaders who both were doing oh, my leg is tied around my headphones. All right. Sorry about that. I think I got some peace now.
Yeah.
Those are two leaders who were both in deep shit with their own population. The public was going to vote Netanyahu out. Zelensky was going to go. Zelensky was seen as the most corrupt president they had in ages. He was tied up in the Pandora Papers. All that stuff came out about him. And then along comes the U.S. with this opportunity for both. I'm not saying this is the main driver, but they both were able to rebuild their own public stock with this war effort. So Zelensky was framed by the U.S. as this hero.
Yeah.
Overnight. So, you know, Ukrainians are like, oh, here's this guy fighting for us. The U.S. is saying we should do this. U.S. is the number one force pushing them to fight back on all this stuff and to press Russia in the first place, to push for the UN to join NATO. All that stuff was a U.S. plan. And same thing with Netanyahu. Netanyahu, not right enough for their public, but he was going to be ousted. And here's a war. His only chance of staying in power is to continue this war.
I mean, continue and expand. And now we're sending troops to the Middle East. Just before we go to Israel, because I know we're about to, just to finish our worst of the week, I also just wanted to remind everybody that it was Blinken who got those former CIA to lie about the Hunter Biden laptop right before the 2020 election. Biden campaign prompted spies to write false letter about Hunter's laptop. Director Morell to help Biden by organizing 50 colleagues, and here it is more in here, prompted to help Biden by organizing 50 colleagues to sign a letter in October 2020, falsely claiming that damning emails from Hunter Biden's laptop published by the Post were Russian disinformation. In private sworn testimony, Morell, or is it Morell? I don't know. Ask Chapel Chappelle Roan, told the House Judiciary Committee that Anthony Blinken, now Secretary of State, was the senior campaign official who reached out to him on or before October 17th, 2020, 3 days after the Post published an email from the laptop suggesting Hunter had introduced his Ukrainian business partner to his father, then Vice President Biden.
Yeah, isn't that a funny promotion? I mean, you go from the CIA director, acting CIA director, and then you support the Biden lie about the laptop, and now you're Secretary of State.
Yeah. He's not a good guy. He thrives on war, and the things that he says were despicable about Russia don't even compare on scale to what Israel is doing to Palestinians. And now, I mean, I think over 500 Lebanese civilians were killed yesterday. When is this going to stop?
Yeah. Should we show a clip of him?
Yeah.
We got a couple options. You pick it. What do you want?
I mean, this just is hilarious.
And of course, what separates Israel, the United States, and other democracies when it comes to incredibly difficult situations like this is our respect for international law and, as appropriate, the laws of war. So we know that Israel will take all of the precautions that it can, just as we would. And again, that's what separates us from Hamas.
Right. And yet he wants to sanction the ICC because they accuse Netanyahu of being a war criminal and perpetrating a plausible genocide. That's how much he respects the rules of law.
What separates the U.S. from the rest of the international community is our disrespect for the rule of law. And the whole world knows it except for our own people, who half of them probably know it now. But the rest of the world has known this for a long time. I mean, we killed 1 million Iraqis for no reason. No fucking reason. And that was just a little blip on our own. It doesn't affect us. So, whatever. Biden was the only one running for president who voted for going to the Iraq war. And that was supposed to be an albatross around his neck. And now here he is, he became the president. Like, that didn't matter.
Democrats are honored to have 200 plus of these ghouls endorsing Kamala.
Yeah.
And again, and I know we talked about this a little bit, or mentioned it last week, but if part of their platform is Google Project 2025, which I agree, it's disgusting. I mean, it's been going on forever. It's the Heritage Foundation. All of the people that she says she's honored to welcome their endorsements are part of the Heritage Foundation and these right-wing organizations that are clearly they're successful, are taking over our government. It is a total right-wing government right now.
Yep, 100%.
All right, before we move on, should we spin the wheel?
Oh, sure.
Or did you want to say something else? I mean, I
more
don't know.
on Blinken.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I don't know why I said Zelensky. Blinken. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just show one more clip on Blinken.
Yeah. This is the one that'll get us shut down because it's rocking in the free world. That's him in Kiev.
He's cool. He plays guitar. Like,
that's to him.
Rocking.
They are kidnapping people off the streets. The average age of the people who are fighting, the men who are fighting right now, is over 40. That's twice the age of our military. It's really horrifying.
What are we doing?
Right, what are we doing? All right, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
I'm just drinking. I'm not even Oh, thank God. I haven't even had a shot. Oh, God. Am I going to introduce that to my system now? Yeah, I guess I am. I play by the rules. Not my game. I just, what did she say?
Just a player in the game?
Just a player in the game. Yeah, okay. I'm removing that one and then spin.
Yeah, baby.
Frank, what are you doing? Frank is really clean.
All right, I'm going to do a big one, but I'm also going to remove that one. Wait a second. I am not even caught up. It happened so fast. And I'm a little slow. Okay, doing it again.
Yeah, baby.
Come on. Oh my God. Okay, biggest shot ever. But you better wait. I don't want it to go over the edge. Okay, I'm gonna spin again. I am removing it because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, baby.
There we go.
There you go.
Timeline cleanse. All right, I'm gonna take my shot. Let me just close out of here. Wait 1 second. It's really big, but it's okay. I'm not going anywhere tonight. Okay.
I love male influencers, so I think I'm gonna show the male influencer one.
All right,
did you even see that yet? You probably didn't watch it.
It's gonna be fun. I won't even remember because of my.
Then I cut.
Last night I hosted dinner for 8 great men. These were entrepreneurs, coaches, creators, and high-level performers. Requested that nobody bring alcohol and made sure to drain their seed before the event so conversations could be sincere and genuine. The meal consisted of simple, nondescript dishes, so the flavors wouldn't distract from honest, productive discussion. Prompt of the night was what's the longest lesson you had to learn, and why couldn't you be the man you are today without it? We all took time to share our stories with the group and kept a buzz around the table to use if the conversation strayed from the designated topic. Any member of the group engaging in small talk or gossip was kindly asked to leave. Fred and David share their stories of getting small businesses off the ground. David said he mixes food delivery with sports gambling to bring users comfort food when they lose and champagne when they hit it big. Brent's concept is an app for peer-to-peer insurance that matches you to your statistical equal so you can both insure each. You each pay the same premium to each other every month, so it essentially equals zero. Both are great concepts, but they're having trouble finding investors in a saturated market. Michael also shared his schematics for an e-bike tailor-made to fit gay and lesbian homosexuals. And Eric spoke about using his unemployment checks to produce local alternative comedy shows. If any attendee had to use the bathroom, we made sure to go with them as a unit to encourage their stream and maintain an atmosphere of non-judgment. The whole night was sponsored by my company Mesa Mist, which provided liquid refreshment for the party. Mesa Mist is a subscription-based electrolyte energy water that induces nourishing euphoria and promotes balance. The water is harvested in Arizona from the Colorado River and shipped worldwide. I spoke to the group about how we've been introducing the concept of ethical capitalism, donating 1 pair of sunglasses to Navajo tribe members in northeastern Arizona for every 10 cases sold, and including coupons on Mesa Mist labels that teenagers can collect for a chance to win an abortion by mail-in rebate. After dinner, we shared tips on how to better sexually pleasure our wives, and ended the night by combining into a mass on the living room floor and writhing around with each other to induce natural exaltation and dopamine release. All in all, it was a fantastic night, and I can't wait to do it again.
Okay, it wasn't until them writhing on the floor that I knew for sure it was a joke. Because honestly, up until like I know there were a few little moments, but like it was, it's really hard to parody reality right now.
Yeah, I think that That's my kind of humor right there. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Win an abortion by mail-in rebate, Justin. Yes.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was my favorite.
That was perfect.
That was the giveaway. I think that was the one.
I mean, that came right before the writhing. So yeah. But that's very funny and disgusting and man, feels pretty accurate. White men for Kamala. Okay.
Hotties for Harris. Did you see Kamala? I mean, not Kamala, AOC wearing the Hotties for Harris hat. Oof.
It's just too much.
It is too much.
It's really awful. Where do you want to go with this? Because it's just really bad with Israel. And I know we sort of touched on it. I mean, I will not allow my children to be taken to fight in this war. This is not a just war. Nobody should fight in it. I don't know. We all have to just this is it. Like, I cannot believe that we are still doing this a year in. And I know it's been going on now for 80 years. And actually all of the existence of the US and of imperial powers. Like, I know none of this is new. It is the first time that it's been so explicitly broadcast to the whole world. And I put it on I have a new phone and I keep putting it on silent and it keeps making noises. And we're not stopping it. And the lies persist. We're not even talking about I know Leanne Panetta just came out saying that, yes, this was terrorism, which is, when you've lost Leanne Panetta, you're really in dire straits. But we're not talking about these pager bombs anymore because we've just gone on to the next atrocity.
We're really in a situation where it's hard to feel normal. We're so helpless in all this right now. Like literally, what can we do right now? Right. So all we can do is push beyond protesting to the next thing. You want to say what that next thing is, say it. We'll probably get kicked off air, but the next thing has to be disrupting capitalism because public opinion is on our side and all this stuff. We're seeing these tragedy. The world is with us, not just US people. The world is with us. We're letting this happen, and it's in our name. It's our money funding it. It's our support for this or our allowing this to happen that enables this to continue.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it is. And something has to happen. And I know what you're saying, but okay. So the strikes, that is the biggest way. That is the biggest way to disrupt capitalism and to inflict our power on them. We're not going to convince them. It's not about convincing anybody.
Yeah. We're not convincing. There needs to be pain on some level for supporting these policies, for enabling this. And there's no pain. The pain of possibly losing an election, Democrats don't give a shit about that.
Of course.
There's it's more important. It's less painful for us to just let the donors have what they want than to lose.
Yep.
So yeah, but it's all pretty fucking depressing. I mean, you've got this war is expanding before our eyes into the whole Middle East. We're getting sucked into this at a rapid pace. All the Middle East countries have shown restraint relative to
that's
the
the
US.
other thing. It's so incredible. We are counting on Lebanon and Iran, which have been attacked ruthlessly, by Israel, to show restraint. And, I think it is, one of the things that Hamas, I think, probably did count on October 7th. And as we approach that anniversary, I'm just, all of the commemorations are going to be so much more propagandistic than I can even imagine, I am sure. But I think part of it was to goad Israel into revealing who they really are, right? To do the maximalist response, which I don't know that they thought it was going to be this, but
yeah,
that was part of it. But I mean, think Lebanon and Iran are doing is actually really smart, because if they respond, like, that's it, they're over, right? So the whole world comes on them, and now they just have to show restraint while Israel just keeps destroying their cities and people.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I feel like this spiraled out of control, and they didn't ever intend for this to be like, they were just trying to get some hostages back initially. Like, I don't think it was a master plan to,
I do too. I agree.
Force the world to see how disgusting Israel was. But then it escalated, and where do you go from there? How do you back down? And Israel didn't want to negotiate. They didn't want peace. The US didn't want to negotiate. The US didn't want peace. We didn't want ceasefires. And at some point you're thinking, if you're in Gaza, well, the world's going to see this. We're in a different era, and the world's going to step in and do something about this. And we're just seeing that, no, they're not. They're not. Nobody is stepping in and doing.
I mean, it was back in November when those little children were standing there pleading with the world for their lives, right? Saying, please stop this. I mean, and we have, medical workers. I mean, this video from this nurse about kidnapped medical workers, this is what we're funding right now.
I spoke to several colleagues when I was in Gaza, both in March and in July, who had been detained by Israel, abducted. These are people that were targeted because of their jobs. So they were pulled out of a line, out of a checkpoint, because they were wearing scrubs, and they were identified as healthcare workers. And they were beat and tortured because of their status as doctors and nurses. The nurses that I spoke to had been detained for over 2 months. They had been physically, sexually, psychologically tortured, deprived of food. Their only crime was the fact that they were healing people. Israel is making it impossible for anybody who wants to save lives to do that. We did see patients in the ICU who had to have worms and maggots cleaned out of their mouths every single day because there's no soap. Israel is not allowing soap into Gaza, so there's no way to prevent infections. The United States provides cover for Israel to be able to do all of this. The death of American citizens at the hand of Israel is really proof of this. It's extremely hard for me to do my job as an American doctor if I know that at any moment Israel could shoot me, kill me, strike the hospital that I'm at, and the United States would do absolutely nothing about it.
So that's where we are right now. With no plan to stop it. And, they're doing the same thing. I mean, honestly, every week as we prep, or twice a week as we prep for the show, it's like we're pulling clips that are the same as the clips from last week with a different date on them. The different, the Netanyahu and his posse are saying the same things. The healthcare workers and humanitarian aid workers are saying the same things. Biden administration is saying, we're trying everything. We do not want to expand this war to Lebanon, but we're going to keep sending the bombs that are killing these people and funding the people who are starving them to death. So, it's, we're just, and like
the progressive left in power is wearing hotties for Harris hats instead of saying these people are not doing anything for Palestine. They're not fighting for a ceasefire. AOC's out there saying she's doing everything she can to get a ceasefire. Working tirelessly for a ceasefire. It's just it's just depressing. There's nothing with all the attention on the election. It's almost distracting us away from this issue because people are just like, well, maybe it'll be a little better under Kamala or something, and hopeful, optimistic thinking, but nothing she's ever said or done shows that she's going to change one iota on this. And so we need to hold if you're going to support Kamala, vote for her at the end or something, whatever. I'm not. But you can't come out and support her. You have to push for Palestine. You have to fight
vocally, loudly. Let her know that she will maybe lose because of this, because she cannot be rewarded for committing genocide, saying she's going to continue the genocide and still get in power again, because we see that the cop cities, they're now at Columbia University making Zionism a banned word. It is now part of how exactly did they phrase it? I don't even know. It's so ridiculous. It's a slur that's pejorative term, classified as harassment. People call themselves Zionists. Like, what? People say I'm a Zionist. Like, that is a thing. Zionism is Judaism. That's their whole bag. And now that's a slur. I mean, that is why this is so inherently anti-Semitic, all of this. Tying a genocide to Jews is one of the most anti-Semitic things that Biden and Trump and everybody in power is doing. This is not a Jewish project. This is a racist, imperialist, colonial project. And yeah, there are some Jews who agree with it, but it is not a Jewish project. And to tie those two things together is to invite the whole world to hate all Jews. And that's not the worst part of all of this. I'm not like, of course, but these people who are running around on campuses and Dana Bashes of the world and Jake Tapper, who are like, they're bringing down all of us.
Right. And I mean, not that we should have to look beyond, because that's enough on its own. But if you're able to tell people they can't use words describing a genocide, like think about how far that is from, like, if I can't talk about a fucking genocide, can I talk about the local police captain doing some criminal action? Or is that going to be, oh, that's Russian funded, whatever, or
yeah, you're Iran funded, a Russia. It's
so
it's a talking
like
point.
that is a fascist thing right off all this fascism is happening under Democrats. So like the fear of it coming from the right, yeah, it's the same thing, but it's not going to, I don't know. Maybe it will get worse with the right. I'm not lobbying for that guy on the right either, but like,
but we
at least the press pushes back on his fascism, and
people see it.
The left, the press is enabling the left's fascism.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been 2 hours, so we should really let everybody go. And as we head towards our one good thing, just to set it up, there are so many other horrific exploitations and genocides happening in the world right now. In the Congo, we're not even talking about it because that's just been ongoing now for decades. I mean, so has this. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, it's overwhelming. And I think that's part of the strategy. It's like, it feels, the whole world feels like what everybody says about Trump. It is the most outrageous things happening. And just as you're catching up to one, the next one happens. And that should have been decade-long news cycle of dissecting how this horror could happen. And instead it's just like one on top of another.
It is. And so this poem is from somebody from, where's she from?
Kenya.
From Kenya.
Yeah.
She's a poet. She goes by Scar. You can find her on Instagram and on TikTok as Scar_poetry. But she has a poem about Palestine and the Congo, and obviously the Congo has been close to her for a long time. So
it's long, but it's really good and it's worthwhile. And cheers to her. Cheers to all of you. Thank you for being here with all of us. You give us some sanity. We love you guys. We'll see you on Sunday. Keep punching up.
I've been trying to write about Congo, trying to write about Palestine, but I feel so inadequate. I've been trying to write about Sudan, but my heart, what could I say? What could possibly be enough? How do I feed the cry of 12,000 dead Palestinian children in my throat? How do I speak for the dead? And if you do not hear them, how will you hear me? I've been trying to write about Congo, but tears fill my eyes. No sound comes from my mouth. I've been trying to write about war, to ask myself who benefits from this. Viva, viva Congo. You will be free. This poem will not be enough. But after sinking into hopelessness, I have decided to do my little. This poem is my little. This poem is only 5 minutes long. It cannot compact the 30 years of war that have been going on in the Congo. It cannot tell you the story of thousands of people who have lost their lives to that war. It cannot tell you the story of countless children who have been maimed in cobalt mines within the Congo. And as you use your newest iPhone, this poem can only ask you, did you know it was made using cobalt? Did you know that children as young as 6 years old are forced to work in cobalt mines within the Congo? Did you know? You can never fully escape the consequences of war. Not even when you escape your war-torn country. Ask the Congolese refugees living in Mwiki. They'll tell you. They die in their houses, too afraid to seek medical attention because they do not have documentation. This country has labeled them illegal. How does a person become illegal? Imagine your very existence being against the law. My mother once asked me, why don't they ever go back home? Don't they have family to visit in Congo? When your country lives in a state of war, your family is not guaranteed their right to life. In light of all this, what does a poem do? What can a poem do? But express my own outrage at war. Say, I stand with Congo, I stand with Palestine. We can never be free unless they too are free. But perhaps this poem awakens you, makes you uncomfortable. I hope it grieves you. I hope it makes your heart heavy, because this are not light times. Countries cannot be in war for over 30 years and we stand and do nothing. I hope this pain does not leave you. Not until it leaves the Palestinians, not until it leaves the Congolese, not until Sudan too is free. Because who benefits from a war? Not the soldiers. Did you know that some Israeli soldiers posted to fight in the IOF unalive themselves, refusing to be complicit in a genocide? They would rather take their own lives. So who benefits from this war? Not the children, maimed and killed before they could walk. Imagine having no room to think or dream of a future. What do you want to be when you grow up? I just hope I grow up. What do you pray for? My duas are suffocated with prayers of peace. They leave room for nothing else. The cry of Congo is the cry of the Palestinians. It is my cry. It is the cry of all of us under the thumb of neocolonialism, patriarchy, capitalism. Set us free. Set yourselves free. A threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Lately, I find myself wanting to pray in Arabic. Maybe Allah will hear me and set the Palestinians free, and as we free Palestine, do not forget Congo. Do not forget Sudan. No, Madiba. The Palestinians are still not free. Sankara. Your country lies in ruins. Lumumba. We are still dying for Africa.